Assalamu alaikum. On behalf of Ahsan Academy, let me welcome you to a presentation on Cerebrum. This presentation is the part 3 of the total presentation of Cerebrum. In this presentation, we will describe the functional areas of Cerebrum. For that, we need some prerequisite knowledge that will be discussed first, and then we'll map the cerebral hemisphere or the different locations of the functional areas. This is the photograph of the superlateral surface of the cerebrum. You can remember this is the central sulcus, and this is the lateral sulcus, two prominent sulci present on the superlateral surfaces. And this is the third one, parieto-occipital sulcus. We use this and draw some imaginary line to differentiate the four areas: frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and the temporal lobe. In every lobe, we know the name of the different gyruses and sulci. Important one is the pre-central gyrus. This is the post-central gyrus. Many other named gyrus and sulci are in the different lobe areas. With this knowledge, let us discuss the location and functions of the different functional areas of the cerebral cortex. The different areas of the cerebral cortex are functionally specialized, like some area is related to the vision, some area related to the motor activity of the muscles, and so on. These areas are classified in different ways. Brodmann's classifications will be discussed here, and the areas are known as Brodmann's area. The Brodmann's area are anatomical locations of the neuron specialized to do some functions. They collection there to do some motor function or receive some sensory function of special type. Let us discuss one by one. The primary motor area. This is area number 4 in classification of the Brodmann. You can identify this is the central sulcus, as we have discussed in earlier parts, and this primary motor area occupies the precentral gyrus. So this is the precentral gyrus. You can remember this. Actually, the posterior part of the precentral gyrus is totally the motor area 4. This is the primary motor area, and it extends into the part on the medial side. Let us discuss this one. This is the medial surface, and this is paracentral lobule, and the central sulcus. Entry to the central sulcus is containing the primary motor area in the medial surface. The main function of this area is to carry on individual movement of the different parts of the body, and it is controlled to the opposite side. The fibers crosses the midline, and it controls the movement of opposite side. This is known as contralateral side of the body. Same side is called ipsilateral. You say this motor area, total area, are also again classified for different regions, and it varies. The size actually varies as per the skill required. If we try to identify these areas of supply, this is a bit inverted position, and if we draw that, the figure will be distorted in proportion because of the size of the area depends on the scale, not on the proportion side of the body. You can see the image of the body as per the area of the motors. If we draw this distorted figure is known as the motor homunculus is like this one. This is the paracentral lobule, and its motor area extends up to this area, and this is specially assigned for the motor activity of the sphincter of anal canal and vesica means bladder. This is the figure you can see. This is motor homunculus of the human body. It is drawn as per the proportion of the size of the motor areas. So you can see the tongue and lip occupies very large area, hand occupies very large areas. Secondary motor area, this is situated, this is the Broadman area 6 and 8, also known as premotor area. This is situated in the precentral gyrus. You can see this is the central sulcus. Here is the central sulcus. It is the area 4 that is present here, and anterior to the area 4, this area 6 and 8 situated. It is anterior to the precentral gyrus. I will say this is the motor areas, and in front of that, this secondary motor area is situated. It occupies all the three gyruses present in the frontal lobe, superior, middle, and in. Function of the secondary motor area is to design the pattern of movement. This area stores the experience and in the form of memory, and on the basis of the memory basis of the past experiences and the memory, these movements are designed, and this is finally executed by as the movement caused by the area 4. So this is from the background on the basis of previous experience. The area secondary motor area 6 and 8 controls the movement. Frontal eye field, these are the areas 8 and area 9. This is present in the mid part of the frontal gyrus, and it extends on the medial surface. You see, this is the medial extension with the medial surface. This controls the voluntary scanning movement of the eye. This is independent of the visual stimulation. The eye movements are controlled by these two areas. So especially the following some moving object or structure. Motor speech area, this is the area number 44 and 45. You see, this is the lateral sulcus, and you can see this lateral sulcus. This is the one branch, anterohorizontal and anterovertical. This between this anterohorizontal and the vertical, this area 45 is situated, and behind this vertical one, that is the sulcus, behind that is the area 44. This area is usually dominant on the left side. That is, the left hemisphere is dominant for the motor speech area. Primary motor area contains the motor neurons that regulates the formation of the word. By it supplies the muscles of the speech, thereby controls the production of the speech. This area is also connected to the different parts of the cerebral hemisphere, controlling, contributing in the behavioral pattern, emotional output, and so on. It's clinically, this area is significant. You see, if you can remember, this is the pterion, and this is the junction point between anterior triangle of the parietal bone, temporal squamous part of the temporal bone, greater wing of the sphenoid, and this is the frontal bone. So together this area is known as pterion, and pterion area is very thin and very prone to injury. So deep to this lies one important structure. You can see anterior division of the meningeal middle meningeal artery lies very close to this. Even within the bone you can see a tunnel there that is transmitting the bone. So any injury this here causing any fracture of this area or dislocation of the joint, there will be tearing of this artery leading to excessive bleeding that may press this piece area, or a bony piece may be indrawn causing injury to the speech area. So this is one of the very common area affected by the skull injury. This one is prefrontal area, is a very larger area occupying the total anterior area. This is the area 19, 10 and 11. 9, 10 and 11 Broadman's area, and it occupying that you can see the anterior part of the superior, middle and inferior frontal gyri. It extends into the inferior surface, that is the orbital gyrus present in the inferior surface, and also the medial surface, the corresponding areas. So this is total anterior pole is occupied by the prefrontal area. Prefrontal area is an interesting area. It is connected to different part of the cerebral cortex, and by this it is meant performing an interesting job. It is responsible for makeup of individual personality, which separates one person from the other person, and many a time we can relate some descendants, means relation of the children with the parents, and the behavioral pattern and motor activity also having some relation with the parents. It is responsible for some emotional feelings and initiation, and also for the initiatives of job or doing performing and judgment of the situation is the job of this prefrontal cortex. So in the frontal lobe, you see this is the central sulcus, lateral sulcus, and this area is the frontal lobe. So this frontal lobe contains and some important areas: primary motor area, secondary motor area, motor speech area, frontal eye field, and prefrontal cortex. So these 5 important areas are situated in this frontal lobe. Let us move to parietal lobe. Behind the central sulcus, this is the parietal lobe, anterior to the parieto-occipital sulcus. So this is the parietal lobe, and this is having posteriorly continuous with the temporal lobe and occipital lobe, but it is separated by central sulcus from the frontal lobe. The Brodmann's area 3, 1, 2 is serially from the central sulcus. They are situated 3 anteriorly, then mid part 1, and posteriorly this is the 2. These all are the primary somasthetic area or primary sensory area. So this is occupying the post-central gyrus except the lower part. This is going to the medial surface and occupying the paracentral lobule posterior to the central sulcus. The primary somasthetic area is responsible for receiving all sensory fibers from the thalamus, and it is getting the sensation from the opposite side. So contralateral side of the body is under control of receiving sensation for the opposite side. From the oral region, some important exception goes to the same side, and from the pharynx, larynx, and perineum goes to both sides of the cerebral cortex. We can draw homunculus in the same form as the motor one. So in this case, there is some variation, and this is known as sensory homunculus, means it's a distorted figure of the human maintaining the proportion of the area supplied or receiving the sensation. So the body become a bit distorted, and this is known as sensory homunculus. This is sensory homunculus, and it is in this figure it is compared with the motor one on the right side. The secondary somasthetic area, the area is situated, this is post-central gyrus. It is situated at the lower part of the post-central gyrus. This is gyrus, and its lower part, it is the lateral sulcus, so upper lip of the lateral sulcus. So it extends into the upper lip, and it's a very small area. It can be stimulated by transient cutaneous stimulation, means if we scratch the skin with a blunt point, then there will be some reaction, and that is that sensation is received by this secondary somasthetic area. But secondary sensory area is something else. Somasthetic association area is situated posterior to the upper part of the postcentral gyrus, and this is area 5 and 7. You can see, you see, everybody can understand this one or identify this one. This is a coin. How we have identified? Just observing it. In other way, we can identify it by just feeling it. Without, we can keep our eye closed, but taking the coin on our hand, we can identify it without seeing it. How this happens? Whenever we feel it first time, this memory of three-dimensional feeling and also the sensation of the touch is preserved in the somasthetic association area. So whenever the second time somebody gets that same thing on the hand, that stimulation matches this information with the past experience and can identify that without any direct vision. This is the job of the somasthetic association area. In this way, every sensation can be correlated or can be identified, can be recognized, can be appreciated by this center, somasthetic association center. Primary visual area. This is, we understand the vision is done by this one. This is area 17. Here you can identify one sulcus. This is calcarean sulcus that extends a little part of the lateral surface of the cerebrum. So this area is situated in either lip of this calcarean sulcus, and it is mostly situated on the medial surface of the cerebrum, extending on the superior lateral surface little area. This is responsible for vision. You see, the eye is the receptor organ of the vision. Here you can see in the diagram, this is the eye. So here the receptor receives the vision impulse, and from the medial side of the eye the fiber crosses to the opposite side, but from the lateral part it remains on the same side. So visual area receives combination from stimulation or the combination from the opposite eye as well as from the same side. So this is occurring. This you see, this is from the nasal sensor receives sensation from the temporal, means lateral one is the close to the temporal bone, so this is known as temporal eye field, and this outer part of the eye receives the eye field closer to the nasal bone, so this is nasal field. So temporal field crosses, but nasal field vision remain on the same side. Secondary visual area, this area is numbered by Brodmann as area 18 and area 19. This is the area 18 is closer to this primary area, the 19 is away. So you can see this is the 17 area close to the calcarine sulcus, and a bit closer to this is 18 and then 19. These two areas are secondary visual area. So they are responsible for relating the information received by the primary area, and this is stored here as experience. In subsequent vision, these objects that the sensation is compared with or related with the past experience, and it decides about the recognition as well as appreciation, which is good. Primary auditory area is Brodmann area 41 and 42. You know, this is the lateral sulcus, the part of the lateral sulcus behind the central sulcus. This area is the part behind the central sulcus, and the lower lip of this area contains area 41 and 42. These are the primary auditory areas, and these two areas are responsible for reception of the sound frequency that initiated from the receptors, auditory receptors present in the ear. This receives the fibers from the contralateral. Secondary auditory area, this is Brodmann area 22. This is also known as auditory association area. This is situated just inferior and posterior to the primary auditory area. This 41, 42, this is the area for the 22. So this is in the superior temporal gyrus. This area is responsible for memorization of the experience and interpretation of the sound frequency. That is sensory speech area of Wernicke. This area is actually continuation of the area 22. This is the auditory association area, and it is continuous with this Wernicke center. Wernicke center actually also known as sensory speech area of Wernicke, and this area is anatomically continuous with this 22, and it occupies this parietal lobe area as well as round the occipital area. It is continuous in the temporal lobe. This is having widespread connection with the speech area, with the auditory area, and also with the visual area. This is also having a continuation or connection with the motor, primary sensor, and other association areas also. This is very mysterious area. This is responsible for memorization, and also has influence on the prefrontal lobe in controlling the personality and development of the personal characteristics. This is especially important for the understanding of the written and spoken language. There is variation in the structure of sensory and motor areas. We have discussed in other presentation that cerebral cortex comprises of 6 areas. Of these, this area number 3 and area number 5 contains large pyramidal cells who are responsible for motor activities, and the largest cells are situated in the area in the layer 6. Sensory cells area are especially important is the second and fourth layer. They contain mostly the stellate cells, who are representing the sensory area. So in the sensory area, we will find the relatively thicker second and fourth layer, and relatively less developed or even very ill developed third layer and fifth layer. The reverse is observed in the motor area. There we will find mostly occupied by the third and fifth layer, and maybe a second layer may be absent, or even fourth layer may be very less developed. In all cases, the sixth layer is the thickest layer in the cerebral cortex. We have functionally observed two types of sensory areas. One is the primary, another is the association area. But actually, function is the primary is the crude area for the reception of a particular sensation, like visual sensation. A primary area just receive the sensation. Same way, auditory, it receives the sensation but cannot interpret it alone. For the interpretation or for memorization, it needs association area. So with the help of association area, actually the reception of the primary area is complete. Let us see these two photographs. One is the rifle shooting competition, another is the chess. You can easily imagine the difference of activities. Here in case of the shooter, the muscular action is the main, the visual and muscular action together achieving the goal. But if you look at the second game, here the muscular activity is very little or insignificant role. The main role is played by the thinking capability. The eye is observing, but it is not doing anything. This is the association area, that is the memory, that is the processing capability, is doing the main function. In otherwise, we can say some situation like primary is responsible for simple receiving the sensation, but association is helping to understand, to interpret. Doing something and performing the work is having clear-cut difference. The doing means without any feelings, doing without any initiative is doing. Performing means you are giving some emotional touch, some skill touch, and so on. Possibility of development is with the performance. That scope of improvement is with the performance. The scope of improvement with the understanding. The developmental scope is there with the understanding. So association area is backing the primary area to improve the sensation, to have the three-dimensional idea, to make the thing appreciable or not. This is done by the association area. So you have understood the difference between the sensory primary area and association area. Dominance means some area dominate over the others. As a hemisphere, the left one usually dominates. So dominating means this is functionally active and overdoing over the next one. The left hemisphere is dominating. So usually the right side is motor activity dominates. This indicates especially the handedness and perception of the language as well as speech. So the left hemisphere especially contains the neurons that dominates over the right hemisphere and controls especially this area and expressed in the human being. The dominating hemisphere is having the linear nature of doing work. The recessive one performs the spatial job. Let us discuss the or try to understand the activity of recessive one. This is the dominant one is the left. It is computer like. It do work, and it does work like 1 + 1 is 2. On the other hand, the right one tries to give the touch of the emotion, tries to understand the underneath feelings, and so on. The non-dominating hemisphere of the cerebrum deals with the emotion. It gives the feeling three-dimensional view. The spatial perception is done by the non-dominating. This is responsible for recognition of the face with emotion. It is responsible for perception of the music. All this are done by the right side. On the other hand, the left hemisphere, the function is straight. It is more like computer. It can say that 1 + 1 makes 2, but the right side thinks otherwise. What is the emotion behind the making it 2? So the thinking ability of or performing ability of the left side is very linear, and the right side, this is more holistic. Many a time the right side will suggest the left side to perform in a different way. So the human being has reasoning capability to improve the feelings and doing something. Thank you very much for remaining with the presentation.